Hey Matt, this is Pete Townley. I'm going to be going through the slides on PowerPoint that I've shared the link to you. So this is Chapter 2, the philosophy, goals and objectives for history, physical education, and recreation. So what we're going to try to do, this is kind of we're a work in progress, try to get some things online for the next week until you get back here on campus. Just to feel caught up and stay with things. So I'm going to kind of move through the slides. If I'm going too fast, obviously you can rewind and listen to it again. So that being said, looking at Chapter 2, we're talking about philosophy and goals. Philosophy meaning the love of wisdom, and again you can read right along with the slides if you like. But basically, we want you, or philosophy is to come up with your own personal set of values and views, and kind of use that as a guideline to form your own teaching style, coaching style. Again, whether you're an actual physical education teacher, a professor, strength coach, personal trainer, coach, whatever you need. So a philosophy will help you kind of get where you want to go. Philosophy, again, just in general, has lots of different branches, different ways of looking at things, and so there's no right or wrong philosophy. They're all theories and all based on how you have perceived things or how you feel about things. And that's, again, one of the cool things. You get to kind of decide your own teaching philosophy. And we'll talk about the different types. So the first thing we want to talk about, again, and this is just straight off the slides, is the metaphysics. It's a branch. It addresses the ultimate nature of reality. What is real, what exists, who are we, all that kind of stuff. Epistemology is the nature of knowledge, kind of examining what is knowledge. Logic, again, looking at things in an orderly, systematic way, straight up, testing things, looking at how things are going to relate to each other, as it says on the slides. Axiology, examining the nature of values. Ethics, concerned with issues of right and wrong, standards of conduct. And then there's aesthetics, which is the study of beauty and art and things like that. Some major philosophies that we want to look at, there's a few of them. The first one is idealism. Idealism is emphasizing the mind, and that's central to understanding. Basically, values are absolute, universal, can't be changed. Values are number one, and that's it. So no matter what happens, regardless of circumstances, it can't be changed. Values stay the same. As it says on the slide, professionals emphasize development of character, importance of values, and the application of reasoning in their work. So again, developing that character. So we use this example of when we're coaching our athletes, or when we're teaching the kids the physical education, building that character, having some values, and that is what outlines our program. So if we have a set number or a set list of core values, if we adhere to those values, we're going to build good, strong character, and that's what's most important in the idealism or the idealistic philosophy. The next one we're going to look at is realism. Realism is a little bit different. It basically is going to use the scientific method to look at things. So again, your scientific method, we're going to have a hypothesis. We're going to form the hypothesis. We're going to take a look at the testing, the methods, the research, and then we're going to have a conclusion based on our results. And so we're looking at things again from a realistic standpoint. We're going to look and test it. Does this happen or not? And so the total development of the person is important, and the physical activity is the important factor here. So under a realistic way of looking at physical education, building your body up is what's going to provide success and provide the ultimate, or that's the ultimate goal. We'll put it that way, to achieving whatever your goal is, depending on your chosen sub-discipline. And again, those sub-disciplines were mentioned in the lecture notes in Chapter 1, like exercise physiology, biomechanics, sports psychology, physiology, all of those different sub-disciplines, athletic training, strength and conditioning, coaching, all of that stuff. Okay, pragmatism. Pragmatism's basically experiences are the basis of the truth, and so a person's own ideals and a person's own views of the world are based on his or her experiences. So, a very pragmatic or someone who studies pragmatism would say, every time I've fallen asleep in class, I've gotten an F. So his reality is formed by thinking, okay, well, I'm not going to have success in this class because I fall asleep, versus someone who, say from the physical education world, if I work hard, I get stronger. So if I put in the time and the effort, I'm going to get stronger. I'm going to get faster. I'm going to have a better idea of my sport, all of that good stuff. So the idea here is, looking at whatever works in any given situation. You've heard the expression, the ends justify the means. Well, it's kind of the same thing here. We're looking at every situation is different. And we know that from a coaching and a teaching standpoint, every student, every athlete is different. So if we're teaching someone, we can't have a cookie-cutter formula. We've got to be able to kind of mold our approach based on the athlete or the student's needs. And so that's a pragmatic way of looking at it. Existentialism, you'll see that's the next slide. I'm going to skip over that. Not that it's not important, but we're just not going to look too deep into that one right now. I should say on existentialism, that if you look at the bottom note here on the slides, creativity, individuality, self-responsibility, self-awareness are important aspects. So we like that. When we're going to teach, we like to have that creative outlet or that thought of, again, self-responsibility to help form the lesson plan or the lecture, the coaching outcome for that day. But again, that's about as far as we're going to look at that one. Humanism. Humanism emphasizes the development of the full potential. It considers feelings, needs, goals, capabilities, limitations, and the individual. This is good in terms of, we all want the individual student to feel good, feel confident, feel good about their effort, and so it's not a bad approach to go with. But we'll use caution here. Sometimes we've gotten into problems with giving people, say, a participation medal. Let's look at that example. You play some youth sports, and everybody gets a medal, whether they win or not, or whether they work hard or not. If you participated that year in that sport, you get a medal, you get a trophy, whatever the case may be. And there's nothing wrong with that. It gives that student or that athlete, some happiness and some enjoyment out of the sport. Maybe they'll want to continue the sport, and as they get older, they can learn more about the wins and the losses and stuff like that. But maybe, and I'm not saying this is true or not, I'm just throwing this out there as a theoretical argument here, or hypothetical argument, I should say. If we give participation medals, is that going to foster that competitive spirit or that desire to work hard? If you know that only the top 3 teams or the top 3 individuals are getting the award, the trophy, the medal, would you work harder to get there? I don't know. And again, that's not our goal right now, is to answer that question. But that would be a humanistic way of looking at it, is to give everyone their pat on the back, give everyone their attention they need, so that you can foster that good, confident feeling. And it's fairly straightforward. Not a thought shared by everyone though. Looking at some of the things that we want to look at now in terms of teaching, the mind and body relationship, that would be the next thing that we're looking at. Two ways of looking at it. There's monism and dualism. Dualism basically thinks that the mind and body are separate, the mind being superior, so we build up the body to help strengthen the mind, whereas monism uses the mind and the body as one entity. And basically, physical education is a way of building up the whole person, the total person. So again, just kind of two ways of looking at that. When we look at the philosophy of sport and activity, again, we're looking at definition of scope and practice here. Philosophers basically use logic and reasoning to gain a broader understanding of how sport contributes to our lives and analyze the principles that guide the professionals' practices and actions. Read that right off the slide. Basically, we want to study the values of that sport and how participating in that sport, or just the sport in general, impacts society. And that's a huge thing. You know, when we talk about college athletics and pro athletics, the business side of things, how are those, how does that impact society? Well, you know, financially, big time. I mean, it's big business. So the idea is, a sports philosopher, someone's going to say, if we get involved in the sport, or if we teach the sport, are we teaching this sport to enhance the economical impact on society, or to build character for the individual, so on and so forth. And again, there's not a right or wrong answer. So when you are a physical educator, coach, strength coach, personal trainer, your training philosophy or your teaching philosophy is going to be based around how those students are going to leave your setting, your educational sports setting, and how are they going to have an impact on society based on how you've taught them. And so that's the whole point of this chapter, is to kind of gain a philosophy for yourself. I'm going to kind of skip over the historical elements. Again, not that they're not important. Please read through them. There might be a test question or two out of that, but for the most part, we want you to come up with your own personal philosophy. You'll notice, probably like the 15th or 16th slide down, there's a worksheet, developing your own personal philosophy. And you're going to answer these questions or use this chart as a guideline. And that's what it'll look like. You're going to use that chart as a guideline to come up with your own personal philosophy. And the first assignment is to do that on physical education. So what's your philosophy on physical education? You may not know that. You may not have that answer right now, but use this guideline here, which is on the slides, to help answer some questions to help form your own philosophy. I'm going to have that assignment due whenever you get back. No rush on that. So the last thing we want to talk about are goals and objectives. You know, we have goals, and goals we use to give us an endpoint or an overall idea of what we're after. Our goal for this class is to get you to understand the history and the principles of physical education and how it's come about and how it impacts our society. My objective is to, you know, by chapter, give you an outline of what you're going to need to know. So when you have a goal for a team, a coach, you know, sport, your objectives or your taxonomies, as we'll call it, are your guidelines, the ways you're going to get there. And your objectives are maybe smaller sub-goals that are going to help you reach your ultimate goal. And so you try to get to one of those sub-goals. Pretty straightforward stuff. And I think that's all we want to talk about for this one. I might have another little follow-up video about out of time on this one, just to kind of wrap up the goal setting, but we'll go from there. Let me know if you have any questions. Thanks.